try to answer that also. So herd immunity is when you have enough infection in the community that everybody almost has some amount of immunity, that when the virus attacks, you generally tend to have a mild or asymptomatic course, and you don't have to go to the hospital and have moderate and severe disease. Now, a Stanford study done 2 weeks back showed that the infectivity of the virus is between 65 to 80 times more than what we know. So there have been two other studies that they took a homeless shelter in Boston. Out of 246 people, 146 was found to be already having antibody against the virus. So obviously, and the same study came out from California also. So it looks like the virus is highly infective virus. And there has been a theoretical paper in Nature which says that the chance of the virus attaching to a ACE2 receptor is also a question of chance. So like the older virus, especially the SARS-1 virus, say out of 10 ACE receptor, maybe it would have launched, it would have attached in 1 out of the 10. But in SARS-2, they are finding there's an enzyme called ferinase that might be playing a role in blocking or opening up the receptor molecule so that the virus can attach. So though we do not know the mechanics, but there looks like the SARS-2 might have some upgradation in its activation of the ACE receptor, which makes it so highly infective. So the good news is obviously the herd immunity will come much earlier than what we thought. But the bad news is that obviously more and more people will become positive. So as you do more and more tests, you will get more and more people positive. And so that as far as herd immunity is concerned. Next question, let's ask to Dr. Kalita. What is the life of the virus on air and on surfaces? Dr. Kalita, can you hear me? Kalita, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
What is the life of the virus on air and on surfaces?
Actually, most of the studies are done coronaviruses, which are not just COVID, SARS coronavirus 1 or other coronavirus. So these data, some data are available at this moment, but you cannot say for sure that these are the data for the current virus. So there are lots of studies, current studies, even up to some maximum 8-9 hours, it can actually survive. They have found without lifts or some confined places, it can persist for 8 hours as well. So those data are there. But thing is, unless we have some particular study specific for this particular virus, it's very difficult to say at this moment. But we have to get the bottom line of the entire this questions is we got to be very careful about this. We got to be careful about the aerosol. We got to be careful about. We must prevent this infection basically with this armed with this knowledge that it can survive for hours actually.
That's a
If
good.
I can can I just add something?
Please, please.
Actually, the studies like Dr. Kalita was saying, they're mentioning that on the inanimate surfaces and in the air, this can survive up to 9 days, they have said. The primary mode of transmission is actually droplet infection and close contact. That is why our healthcare workers, like we say, the frontline people, you will see they are more prone to getting the infection because it requires direct contact and close contact within 1 meter distance, 1 to 2 meters. So this thing has actually come out very clearly. And there's another concept of R naught numbers. So if you compare it, it's more than this. If you compare it with MERS and SARS, it has been seen that it's up to 3.5. And any infection which has a R naught of more than 1 indicates that the disease is prone to spreading. The other factor which has played a role in a higher infectivity as compared to the previous two coronaviruses is that there's a high viral load during the prodromal stage also. So the infectivity or the contagiousness actually depends on that factor also. That is why it is seen to be more transmissible than the other viruses.
Perfect.
That's the thing which we should keep in mind.
Right. So the
So
great answer.
one last,
Yeah.
just one. So one aspect here is there are these questions are raised many a time. It's how long it will be there on the surface on a plastic on wooden surface or something like that. But the experiments prove that these are not fixed. In certain within the plastic also different types of chemicals are there. So it is always in the range, and studies are going on, and actually most of the studies are not very similar. Results are varying from study to study. But overall, is that this possibility of very long sustenance of the virus on different surfaces or in the air is possible. Even for days also it is possible.
Right. So I think that's a very good answer. Maybe we don't know how long, but what I do, one more point would be in the Diamond Princess, which, as you guys know, had a huge number of people with COVID positivity. Even 3 days after people got out of the ship, they had live viruses. So at least 3 days, as Dr. Gupta was saying and Dr. Kalita was saying, we don't have exact numbers, but people have found up to 9 days in some cases. But certainly, Diamond Princess, they had in up to 72 hours after everybody got down from the ship, they had live viruses still living there. Okay, next question, Dr. Panda. What should be, Dr. Panda, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What should be our magnitude of worry regarding the spread of COVID-19 through food, vegetables, fruits, and all those things, what we eat?
Uh, sir, actually, first key we should not worry because magnitude of worriness is difficult to tell in that way. Ki who is actually understanding? Like as a literate and educated, and we are taking all the precaution while going to the food, vegetables shop or anywhere. Then if you are going there with all the precautions, then automatically there should not be any worriness. But if you will not take all the precautions while going there, only problem of in our countries are actually if once lockdown opens, are actually all the shops will started opening, and all major shops are in the gullies, more often in the actually crowded places. So there is you cannot maintain a distance there, frankly speaking, because if a shop is in a one shop and a much distance is there or the open space is there, automatically you can make a physical distance there 1 meter. Otherwise, you cannot make a 1 meter distance in the Rishikesh market. Actually, there is a so congested there. So therefore, there we can do only one thing actually, that we will wear the mask actually till this pandemic is there, and we will do the hand hygienic, and also after coming actually that whatever the contact transmission possibility is there, that we have to take care. And as a professional, we will not worry much, but as a non-professional who are in the village, I don't think actually there is an answer for them except this control of all the population area or crowded places. Unless we control these crowded places, nothing can be done, sir.
Okay, very good point.
As a housewife, I would also like to mention one thing. The question which you were asking was about the vegetables acting as a source when you bring them home, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just coronavirus which is going to be there. There are plenty of other things which can be there. So the way you routinely clean your vegetables before you store them and stock them in the fridge should be followed. It should be done scrupulously, and we should make it a part of a daily habit. That's the only thing which I want to mention here. It will save us from many other things.
I would also like to add one point over here.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr.
To make it
Next question is anyway you, so-
usable, no, we need not to disinfect them also, because I have seen this query from many parts of people that whether we should disinfect our fruits and vegetables. So need not to spread your alcohol-based disinfectant on these fruits and vegetables. Regular wash is necessary, and disinfectant should be safe for your hands and other things.
Very good. Next question is actually for you, Dr. Saxena. Wasn't the herd
Yeah.
immunity phenomena tried in Sweden and it failed? Since the cases in Sweden is rising now, what do you think? That's a question.
As we all know, we are not yet sure about the genetic constitution and the mutation which is happening in this virus. So if it is getting constantly mutated, then definitely herd immunity is not going to build up as we are thinking. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason, but I'm not sure. I cannot say conclusively that why herd immunity has not yet been built. Maybe the mutation could be
He's
the.
especially asking for Sweden because Sweden has not maintained lockdown and anything. So he wants to know that if there is herd immunity, why is Sweden not already herd immune? I think the most specialist thinks the reason is that the virus also does take some time to get everybody infected. I mean, Sweden is not a small place; it is a big place. So maybe Sweden will get more quicker herd immunity than in other places. But having said that, as Dr. Saxena said, that science itself is unknown. We don't know the science very well, and we're slowly
Yes.
understanding it. Next question to you also, Dr. Saxena. Will warm weather contain COVID spread?
See, there are conflicting answer to this question, or many researchers they are saying that temperature has no effect on the coronavirus, but the research conducted by National Institute of Environmental Engineering of our country, they say that they have found that in high temperature would restrict spread. But in Maharashtra, I don't see that is happening. In spite of having high temperature, spread is very high. So again, I would say still researches are going on, and we don't know the conclusive answer on this also.
So the next question is again for you. A lot of epidemiology questions. People want to.
Yes.
You're a popular person now, Dr. Saxena. Is
It's
there
okay.
any evidence of asymptomatic carriers in published literature in India? The second part of the question is what percentage as compared to symptomatic is asymptomatic in India? Do you have any literature on that?
Yes, it is well known that in cases of corona, we expect at least 10 times asymptomatic people than symptomatic. Otherwise, also we know if you look at the spectrum of the disease from pre-symptomatic to asymptomatic, mild, moderate, and severe cases, we all know that most 80% of the cases they remain in mild and very mild category. So likewise, we know for HIV, likewise we know for polio. For one case, there could be 100 or 1,000 cases which remain asymptomatic. So the same is true for corona also. Definitely, we are going to have that asymptomatic cases. And when we do surveillance is an activity which we do for actually identifying these asymptomatic cases. And country has starting its surveillance very soon, and it has already been found that in surveillance we can pick up those cases which are asymptomatic, and definitely shortly we would know about the exact percentage of asymptomatic cases.
If we go by the clear-cut concept of disease, number one, population, number two, and on the other hand, we go for, I would say, mild cases, moderate and severe, then out of the population, 80% will be asymptomatic. Out of the cases which are symptomatic, 80% will be almost mild symptomatic. So it's a huge number which is either asymptomatic or mild symptomatic, and the one which is a serious infested is a very small number.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that update. Next question for you, Dr. Handu. Are you there, Dr. Handu? Dr. Handu, are you there?
See, my data is based on the California study which was published around 10-15 days back.
Correct.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
I'm here.
So question for you, Dr. Handu. What is the role of anti-malarials and does vitamin D have any role? So two questions. Number one, what is the role of anti-malarial and what is the role of vitamin D?
Anti-malarials, of course, there has been a lot of debate, and the initial focus was on hydroxychloroquine, and there was a lot of hype also without much of data. Most of the evidence so far is based on in vitro studies. So in vitro hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine have got antiviral activity.
and they inhibit the replication of SARS coronavirus. But whether this effect will replicate in the clinical situation, that needs to be seen. Preliminary studies done in China and a small study done in France, they alluded to the fact that there is some protective role, and both as a prophylaxis and as an intervention for the exposed or infected patients. So we have to wait for the ongoing trials and hope that we get some positive results. In fact, the WHO Solidarity trial and a lot of centers are conducting trials, including AIIMS Rishikesh, is part of the prophylaxis as well as intervention trial. The second part of the question is regarding vitamin D. Vitamin D, of course, there's an interesting observation made in one of the studies that the cases happen during winter in the northern hemisphere and very few cases in the southern hemisphere, partly because in winter the vitamin D levels in the body are the lowest at the trough level. So that is one indication, but that there is a confounder. There is also an association. Another study in Europe found a good correlation between the vitamin D levels and the number of cases in that region and also the mortality. But there is a confounder in terms of age. So the older patients have got lower levels of vitamin D, and they are immunocompromised and they have comorbidities. So we cannot we don't have as of now a convincing correlation between vitamin D supplementation and the corona infection. But in any case, other studies with vitamin D have shown, like in influenza and other respiratory diseases, there have been studies which have shown a positive benefit with vitamin D supplementation. So there's no harm in us taking vitamin D supplement.
Okay, perfect. Next question, I think to Dr. Duggal. What is the Dr. Duggal? Are you there? Dr. Duggal, are you there? Dr. Duggal, can you hear me, Dr. Duggal? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Can you?
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the prognosis of myocarditis and heart attack in patients with COVID-19 who do not have known coronary artery disease?
So, can you? Yeah. So as I told in my slide, in myocarditis, depending upon the troponin levels and the inflammatory markers, the response, if the inflammatory markers and the troponins, if they are highly elevated, then the prognosis is likely to be poor. So the slides in which I showed the cardiac biomarkers, that would help us in deciding the prognosis. So if we suspect myocarditis, we should do these inflammatory markers, which include interleukin-6, ferritin, and troponin.
Okay, thank you. Very good question. Very good answer. So next is Dr. Kalita. Here the question is, what about false negative? What is the? You did put it up in your slide, but if you could in short tell us, what is the accuracy of testing? You know, especially now the antibody testing has also come up. Other than RT-PCR, what is the accuracy of the testing? Dr. Duggal, can you mute yourself, please? Dr. Kalita, are you there? Hello.
Okay, I can
Dr.
answer
Gupta,
that.
you want to take it up? Dr. Gupta, you want to take it up?
Yeah.
Testing. The question is on testing. What about false negative? What is the sensitivity of testing?
See, Dr. Panda had also showed in his slides, uh, sensitivity actually of RT-PCR is best during the first week following infection. They say almost it may be around 90 to 100% no false negative rates. But after that, those rates do change. After 5 days of exposure or after a week of exposure, it can go down to 38%. And after 21 days, it can false negative can be as high as 66%. So,
Very good.
and
Very good.
one study mentions that if you combine these IgM antibody testing with RT-PCR, the sensitivity might improve. But as you know, right now, those antibody tests have been kept at hold because they were being used primarily for the purpose of diagnosis. Whereas they have not to be used for diagnosis, they have to be only used right now for surveillance purpose and to estimate the levels of antibody in people uh, who have been exposed. Maybe they might have some role later on in using it for plasma therapy.
So next for Dr. Panda, what about people who are coming out with reinfection?
Sir, until actually we matlab have enough evidence for this, sir, herd immunity and also the post-recovery immunological status actually, so we cannot say ki recovery will not be, reinfection will not be possible. But as compared to other viruses actually, the answer is actually recovery, reinfection will be less, but unless you are, sir, immunodeficient because you could not develop that immunological parameters, antibody or activation of actually B cells during your infection. A few case reports have already shown that reinfection is possible. So, sir, answer is from the both sides actually. The reinfection is possible, but once herd immunity is getting answered, then automatically we can say that reinfection not possible, sir.
Okay, very good. So the other, I just wanted to add to, so initially when China reported reinfection, then some of these patients is supposed to have had reinfection, but then there were a question of validity of the tests.
Yes,
But
sir.
then South Korea reported 91 cases of actual reinfection,
Yes,
and
yes,
they
sir.
used multiple testing kits.
Yes, sir.
So the problem for I think us here is this, that we do not know why some people do not develop IgG, IgM against the virus despite having a mild infection, despite having asymptomatic infection. But some people with asymptomatic infection develop a pretty high titer, that is more than 1:160 for antibody titer, and we still don't know why. Now,
Yes, sir.
I think this is important to point out for India, because India is one country where the numbers are increasing. So we'll obviously have more moderate to severe patient, and it may be in the future. I personally think plasma therapy may be a good way to go because India has got extremely good blood banking. So getting plasma is pretty good. And we actually have one more question on that, but which I think I'll answer just now. So who are the candidates who can give plasma? So and who are the candidates who can get it? So anybody, based on the protocol we have here, anybody in who's hospitalized can be in one of the three protocols. You can either be on a plasma protocol, or you can be a remdesivir protocol, or you can be on a tocilizumab protocol. So that is IL-6 inhibitors. You cannot be in more than one protocol, any one person. So plasma, anybody with moderate to severe symptom can get plasma. Now, who can give plasma? So you have to be asymptomatic for at least 14 days. You should have a PCR that is positive. And if you're asymptomatic for 14 days, you may or may not have antibody tested, but if you have antibody test, it's preferable to have a titer of greater than 1:160. And if you're only 14 days, then you have to do another test to make sure that you are not virus positive anymore. But what FDA has allowed is, in case you're 28 days from the symptoms, in those patients, you don't have to redo a virus PCR. Just if it's positive once, you can go and donate your plasma. So that's the answer to the plasma question. Next question is, again, it's a epidemiological question. What about the data, global, India, any Indian reinfection, any data on Indian reinfection, Dr. Saxena? Dr. Saxena, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, any
No, from India, actually, we don't have any conclusive report or research based. A few cases have been reported which are presumably reinfection, but no conclusive research based data available from our country on reinfection.
Okay. Now, that I think pretty much finishes everything. I'll ask Dr. Professor Ravikant sir to give his final words before we actually close down. Dr. Sir, do you want to say something, sir?
Yeah, I think I would say, if I summarize how things have happened, this is the first time at national level civil administration has worked totally in unity with the clinical people. So that is a remarkable, at least in my lifetime, I can say. Number two, in terms of hospital administration, we saw immense meticulous management protocol. Number three, the logistic meetings gradually analyzed, because at some time we had only 95 for 3 days. But now we are good enough for 1.5 or 2 months' time. So that was a phenomenal work, which was again taken by one of the senior faculty members. Next, I would say virology lab has come from zero to hero. That's our statement. And from hero, we are going to make them superhero, because we are buying 96 automatic RNA extractor. We are buying 380 plus RT-PCR strategy. So we are going for a very heavy investment into virology lab. So it is a phenomenal thing. Next, the CFM department has done phenomenal work in monitoring, tracing, advising, epidemiology, and everything. I would say next thing, the engineering team worked wonders. From pressure positive, they put a pressure neutral in almost 2 days' time by understanding what we want. Team which was managed clinically by Dr. Panda, it was, I would say, such a motivated team. I would say I'm quite happy to that. But most important, at the end of the day, I would say that the transfusion team has worked well in terms of working on plasma. And we also had a very frank, among all of us, a frank self-evaluation as to what our weakness. And that was a great thing, to understand we have weakness which we need to sort out. And that point, I think, has given a lot of strength in taking this major onslaught in a very, I would say, monitored and time-tested method. And I thank you, Indranil, organizing this. What a wonderful initiative you are. And you are always, I would say, full of initiative. Appreciate this thing. Thank you very much. And also all the participants, they were very encouraging, very, I would say, they very well read the topic. They spoke very well. And almost all of them have done a wonderful job. Grateful to all of them. Thank you very much.
So thank you, everybody. I'm really thankful to Dr. Ravikant that on early Sunday morning, despite his extremely busy schedule, he made himself available to us. I'd like to thank Dr. Gupta for taking the trouble. Excellent slide, excellent talk. Dr. Kalita, very good work, fantastic slide, fantastic talk. Dr. Saxena for giving us a very good overview of the epidemiology of the whole disease, especially epidemiology in India, which not much is known. Dr. Handur for having an excellent talk on the antivirals we use, on vitamin D, on anti-malarials, a lot of questions on that. Dr. Duggal did an excellent job giving an overview of the cardiac problems, and cardiac problems unfortunately is killing people. So thank you very much, Dr. Dugal, for the excellent talk. I thank everybody for being with us. And again, thank you, sir. Take care and hope you guys keep yourselves in this period of COVID. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.